Since it is now 7 o'clock, we call it the meeting to order.
Okay, roll.
Roll call.
Okay, 1 second.
That's what makes it special.
Patrice Berlin.
Here.
John Crocco.
Here.
Tuesday, Friday,
Alex Specky, is he excused? or
He's
just
excused.
What are you doing now?
Lisa Karajan is excused. Patrick Lewis.
Excused.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Yell in your microphone.
Tuesday.
Heidi McKay.
I haven't heard from her.
Okay, so she is absent. Richard Niederberg.
Here.
Eric Previn is excused. Craig Radow.
Here.
Robert Schiller is excused. Keith Schwallenberg.
Here.
Richard Welch.
Hello, I'm here.
Andrew Sussman is excused. Rita Villa here. Denise Wellbank.
Here.
Okay, so we have 8 voting members present, and it will take 5 to pass a motion.
All right. Okay, we're going to approve the board minutes. Did everybody look at the board minutes, read the board minutes? Anybody have any problems with the board minutes? All right, in absence of... Absence of objection, we will approve the minutes. All right, welcome everyone. When this started, we were supposed to have one DWP person. Now I believe we have 2 in the audience. There was supposed to be 3 at last count yesterday. So I don't know if we're going to have 3 or not. It's like a full court press by the DWP tonight. All right, maybe there's safety in numbers. Anyway, we've got these little cards. Anybody who came with billing issues, it's really easy to chat up the gentleman and tell them your problems, but then the next person tells them their problem and they forgot yours. So we've got these little forms, your name, your address, your phone number, what your problem is, and that way we can give them to the DWP. They're all in the back over there, and they've got something to take back to the office and investigate. All right, let's see. We shall go to public comments.
Yes, we have Richard Adams.
There's a couple other things I was going to talk about, but I think the most important thing on our collective schedule these days is the issue I've raised with the board and with various public officials here, and that is the wave of hepatitis infections running through the entire state of California. San Diego didn't even notice they had a problem until they had 16 dead people. And for every dead person that dies of hepatitis because they had a bunch of other stuff wrong with them, there's a bunch of other people that are more or less absolutely healthy, including people just like us, who are carrying the disease, and you won't know you have it until you've got cirrhosis and are on the transplant list. I'm frankly appalled that none of the elected officials I sent it to bothered to even acknowledge receipt of the message. They've got hepatitis in San Diego, we've got it here in LA. Granted, here in LA it's because they only have 2 cases and no deaths. But most people don't even know they have hepatitis, and I say that as somebody who's been in healthcare since the 90s. And those of us in this neighborhood, the most at risk are our youngest, who are our oldest, and those people like me who are immunocompromised for one reason or another. And this is the sort of thing that can't be dealt with speeches and platitudes. It needs to be dealt with action. It needs to be dealt with firmly. And hiding our heads is not going to make anything go away. It's just going to kill a lot of people. And I'm not sure what this neighborhood council can do, but right now the city and the county are all just going like this to somebody else, and it's wrong.
Thank you. John Feltzer. John Feltzer, please.
Hello. I am in fact John Pelzer, and I'm a 35-year resident of Sherman Oaks. I'm also a small business owner and a proud lifelong Democrat. And now I'm a first-time candidate running for the honor of being your congressman here in the 30th Congressional District. My website, Pelzer for Congress, You'll find where I stand on several issues, a few I'll touch on now. Campaign finance, that's the root of it all. And I don't know of a Democratic candidate in the country who doesn't believe that special interest money is killing our democracy. Yet they all take, not all, 99% take money from corporations and PACs. Pelzer for Congress does not. We are 100% fueled by indivisible, this has been a word I've had trouble with that, individual contributions. That way, when I go to Congress, the only people I need to represent are the people that sent me there. On health care, I strongly believe it is a right to be expanded, not a product to be peddled or a political wedge to be used. And I support 1,000% Bernie Sanders' bill that was introduced last week on Medicare for all. On immigration, we must recognize that the actions of this White House are discrimination masquerading as policy. We must also recognize the constant creation and weaponization of confusion to move their agenda forward. Finally, the role of a congressperson. I believe we need to go back to the early days when it was a citizen who went to Washington to do a job, not a politician who went there to start a career. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? That's it? Wow, I'm impressed. Miss Jessica, would you like to come up and chat with us?
Good evening, everyone. Happy Rosh Hashanah. I took half day today, if anyone ever looked at my email. Is this on? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let's see, where shall I start? Harvard Westlake, the September 28th meeting was postponed. Everyone has gotten a notice that says it's canceled. We still don't know when it's going to be. They gave me lovely dates, October 22nd, November 22nd, or December 22nd, right around the holidays. So I do not know, but hopefully it's not right around the holidays. Stacy Marvel is back at Harvard Westlake, and she's on a part-time basis. And she's been reaching out to the community. And I will move on to several other issues. The Speed Hump program, I did send Denise the email about the program. That's actually, tomorrow is when the website opens up to accept applications for Speed Hump. Last year was the first year they began accepting them. Councilmember Krikorian is the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, and he fought to bring that back since 2016. The program had ended because of the recession. This will be for the next fiscal cycle. Typically how it works is LADWP opens the website, and it will be open tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. As soon as they receive 30 applications, they're closing it, because they're only giving that to each council district. That's it. That's the only thing they have funding for right now. But I still advise everybody to apply, because they have very strict guidelines, and some people don't qualify for it based on their guidelines, so the more the merrier. The Safe Sidewalk program is a great program. The city's been sued many times for many years over the problems with the sidewalks, because of trees that were planted a very long time ago, before my time, with the roots have ripped up sidewalks and caused a lot of problems. The Board of Public Works approved an increase in the rebate as of August 1st. It went from $500 to $1,000, and the rebate amount is to $10,000 and replacement valuation amounts. I left a sheet in the back that explains more specific detail of it and what it would look like in terms of sidewalk spacing and all of that. They are requesting an EIR that will be available for public review and comment. When I have that information, I will send it to Denise to put on the website for you guys. I have so far received about 4 requests for that, and I advise if anyone knows of anyone near a school, an elderly home, someone disabled, to let me know, because they are pushed up higher in the system for that reason. Homelessness, Mr. Riddell, I don't know, well, you won't know about this, but maybe you do. CPAB members approached our office, and they met with the councilman. they had advised that we hold a town hall for homelessness. So we're actually working on right now, trying to pin down a date and a location and a bunch of nonprofits that we want to involve in the town hall. We hope to have it by the end of the year. I think it's great because I've been getting a lot of questions about it. They're basically like, what does the city do? What does the county do? Why does the county have anything to do with it? Why does it involve 6 different entities? Why can't the city just do everything? I was at a neighborhood watch meeting last week and I got a lot of questions on the issue. And I actually had suggested it before I got here because CD4 also did a program. It was a very successful town hall. And it will help explain to people. I think it's a great opportunity. Once I know it, I will give it to you guys because I would love for you, Craig, to come. It's a great opportunity to educate all the constituents about what's involved and how they can get involved, and how it's a slow process and it will take a lot of patience from everyone. Next is Williker Park. I let you guys know last month that the park closed on September 5th. It will be closed through January 2018. The additions were to add restrooms, one for men and 2 for women. They will be locked every day at sundown. Jackie and I took a tour yesterday to find out what's been going on since then because I was getting some calls from people saying that they put up fencing behind their yard because part of their yard is accessible to that. So I was also advised, because I was curious, it's MRCA, which is Mountain Recreation Conservancy Authority. They're the ones who are running the program, and the funding from that has nothing to do with the city. It comes from Prop 84, which is a state fund. They've added a bioswale, which is a really great addition. For those who are unaware of what those are, they are designed to concentrate or remove silt and pollution from surface runoff water. They're also going to bring in an arborist to identify any dead trees because there is a disease going around that has beetles that are killing the trees. A lot of them happened not far from when I lived in North Hollywood. And let's see, what's next? Oh yes, of course, the lovely Fugate Hashimoto, I don't want to pronounce it wrong, is sitting in the back. She works for the San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce. She contacted our office because every year for the past 34 years, which is almost as old as me, I'm older than that, sadly, they have done an annual cleanup project and they chose Studio City, so I'm very thrilled. I had suggested a location that I get the most complaints about on the LA River, which is from Laurel Canyon to Whitsett, as a location for the cleanup project that they were going to hold on November 4th. And she's here if you have any questions for her at the end. She is on motion agenda item number 11. She's asking for assistance funding. We'd love to have you guys at the table there. Anything you'd like to help out, I'll be there. It's 8 a.m. to noon. I plan on having a council member. As many people as I can get there, I would love to have there. So that'd be awesome. And lastly, we have DWP. He's not here, but Ron Drescher is the one that made me aware of this problem. I received over 100 emails and phone calls, mostly 100 emails, about the high DWP bills that people were receiving. I've been in contact with Anthony Maxey for the last 2 months. He is not here, I believe. But I have Jason Stinnett and George Chen who are here to address the concerns people are having with DWP. If anyone else came in after we started, if they can please fill out the sheet in the back. It says Council Procuratorian and also a sign-in sheet. That's a sign-in sheet, and then a card that you fill out with a question, and I'll give them to DWP reps to be able to handle because they'll probably be engineered questions and they need time to answer them. And I think that is it for me. Yeah. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, my only question is cleanup on between North Canyon and Whitsett on the river, north side or south side?
So at the meetings, FUME has invited county because our goal is to do both sides. We would love to do both sides. It to me makes the most sense.
That's why I asked the question, because sense is...
Yes, indeed. I actually was lucky enough to get a phone call from Watershed, which is county. They handle the water situation, and there was a lot of trash and human excrement in the river. He called me, not very happy because he was unaware of what the city had been doing with the issue. I'm gonna meet with him for lunch to let him know what the city's doing and invite him to help us as well. Because I did notice 15 ducks there yesterday, all like along the aisle with trash. So not good. So yes, also I did get the email from Richard about the hepatitis breakout. I got an email today from the office about they're gonna be giving away shots, so when I find out that information, the county's the one that's gonna be holding it. I will let you guys know. I'll reach out to my counterpart there at Sheila Kuhl's office, and she'll give the information in terms of where people can go and outreach for shots for that. I sent an email today. I haven't got a response back yet, but I'll let you guys know on that as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I live real close to the river, right where they just rehabbed it between Coldwater and Woodset. And last week, on a Saturday, the Conservancy's down there watering and doing their thing. This one guy had a big pack on his back full of liquid, and we asked him, and it's Roundup. So where they just installed these new pathways for people to walk their dogs, and it's Roundup. And that's what they're doing down there. So
They were not advised to use Roundup, the
we
exact
have pictures.
opposite.
We have pictures of him. But, so, you know, when it rains, this is gonna run into the river. That's one thing. The other thing is animals, they're getting this on their feet. Even if they just do the hillsides, there's squirrels, there's all of that that they're gonna kill.
The city actually has a rule that says they can't do that. So can you send me the photos?
Of course.
I will find out who's doing it.
That'd be great.
I will call their property manager because that's not allowed.
No,
And I've made it very clear to them by email. They know that. Thank you for letting me know.
Wonderful, sure, thank you.
Any other questions?
Patrice, could you just tell me who was it you said
It
was
was a
doing it?
Conservancy,
MRC, I have their contact information.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're there every Saturday morning.
Thank you. And I just met with them yesterday and they did not inform me of this.
Okay.
I had a meeting with MRCA, myself and Jackie, and I have their information. Gabriella Gary, she's the woman in charge of, she's basically like the architect of the program over there, of the changes, and a woman named Dash Solars, S is in Sam, T is in Tom, O is in Orange, L is in Larry, AR, Z is in Zebra. Dash. You'll never see another one. She handles the outreach for MRCA.
I have a question related to the LADWP issue.
They're coming up next.
Yeah, DWP will be here.
Next.
If you can please definitely fill out the form in the back for your questions because we're gonna hand them to them afterwards because they're gonna be asked so many questions. They need time to get back with you. So if you can fill out the report, I'll give you one for you when I'm done. Is there any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And ladies.
Okay, gentlemen in the back, who's first, who's second?
Well, I think everybody can hear me. My name is Jason Stinnett. I'm with LADWP Community Affairs. This is George Chen, who is from our race division. And just a couple of things to preface the discussion. We understand that there's a lot of concerns about your bills going up. That's not unique to people living in this area, in this neighborhood council. We've heard complaints from various areas, and there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, this summer has been one of the hottest summers on record in recent memory. And when that happens, a couple of things occur. People tend to use more electricity. One of the reasons, and I like using this example because it's kind of easy to grasp, when your air conditioner is set at 78 degrees, it doesn't take as much power to get it down when it's at like 90 or 95 typical summer temperatures as it does when it's higher at like 100 degrees or over 100 degrees. So some of those things might be driving some of the usage. One thing we always like to recommend is that you take advantage of the rebate programs that we have. A lot of them are free, they're not income qualified. A great one we have is the Home Energy Improvement Program. There's about a 6-month waiting list for it. However, when it does come through, we have professional staff that comes in. They identify places where you'll be able to conserve both energy and be more efficient with your water use, and that will help bring down your bills. So those are a couple of things, and just to put everybody on the right track, we brought a couple of handouts, and I have those available in the back on both water conservation programs and energy efficiency programs. Also, I'm going to leave my cards, and you can also get a hold of me through the council district office. I'm your community liaison here in the Valley, so if you have any questions DWP related, whether it's your bill, construction happening in your neighborhood, or just a general question, please feel free to contact me. I'm here to help. Now, with that, We can probably take a few questions and see where we go, but basically what we're gonna do, I wanna thank you for having the foresight to put those comment cards together, because that'll help us get that information put together quickly, and I can route that more efficiently through our customer call center and our customer service office. What I can promise you, you may not always like the answers that you get, but I will always get back to you, and like I tell some people, it's a bit of a joke. That's not a joke. Sometimes jobs just come and take a beating, but we are doing our very best to make sure that we're accurately assessing your bills and that we're basically answering the questions. We don't want anybody to be mystified by what's happening on their bills. And the last component I'll add, the sewer charges is something that people aren't familiar with. The sewer charge has nothing to do with DWP, although we get blamed for that along with the other things that people hold us accountable for, and rightly so on those issues. But when water increase usage goes up, so does your sewer charge. So that's not something that's definitely tied to us. So when you're assessing your bill and looking at it, make sure to kind of separate those things out, because one does drive the other, but there's one that we don't have anything to do with. That's LA Sanitation District. And with that, we can take some questions.
Did people write questions for us?
One big question.
One big question?
There's
We have one large
There's
question.
one.
Okay.
There's two questions.
It says, why does my electric bill go up in July, August, when my home does not have AC? Oh, there's an idea.
Oh, that, I'm not the expert on that. We can probably get probably get a more specific answer to it. But generally speaking, I wish Anthony was supposed to be here tonight. He's kind of got a background in rates, and he probably could have answered that more definitively. But even if you don't have AC, oh, please, sir.
So our rates try to set in the summer and the winter different season rates, and for the residential customers, the summer is a little bit higher than the winter, so that we try to encourage conservation. Also try to reflect the cost to us, because in the summer, the demand is high, so the price is a little bit high, or 10% higher than the winter season. There's a seasonal difference on the price. So, somebody already, noticed that, that's, the reason. Probably, if you use the same amount, still though, summer months is about 10% more.
100% more. 125% more.
Well,
Guys, let's do one at a time.
Okay.
My big question is, if I'm away for 2 and 3 weeks at a time, I noticed that my bill is higher than it was the bill before. And so I've asked for an explanation, and no one has been able to answer that. I have no water. I do live in a house by myself, and I took out the sprinklers. Everything is shut off. I've gotten rid of everything that I possibly can when I leave. And my bills are like tripled, and there's nobody home.
And this is your water bill or your power bill?
My power bill.
Your power bill? Okay. What we can possibly do is have somebody go out there and take a look and identify if there's some kind of, oh, they have, and they weren't able to identify it?
I get the same story every single time.
Mhm.
And I travel, and I don't understand that. If somebody would give me an answer that I could comprehend, I would be satisfied with it, but I'm not. I have done everything. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars to find out where the problems are. I've gotten rid of the old pipes that the city put in for water because there was a leak in there in the lawn. Got rid of that last year. The bills are still high in the summertime now, and it doesn't make sense. And my other big question is, as an idea, not as a complaint, is the tiers. Now that we're out of the drought situation, shouldn't the tiers be, spread out a little bit more? Tier 1 should be a little bit wider, giving us a little bit more room. Because right now, tier 1 is like this big, and tier 2, you're into tier 2 before you blink.
Well, there's certainly a discussion that can be had there. I know that they're going to review the rates sometime in 2018. And they're gonna kind of assess and see if there needs to be a rate adjustment. I think it's gonna take place in fall of 2018. But to find out more about that, you can probably contact the council district office, or if not, they can forward you over to me, and I try to identify exactly when that comment period will begin. But they are gonna do like a midway point to evaluate. So It's one of those things too, with a rates case, does not happen overnight. I think we did something like 160 meetings throughout the city of Los Angeles where we went out and did outreach and talked to customers. So it was almost a 1.5 year long process from the time it started and the time that they were approved by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners and the City Council. So again, it doesn't happen overnight, but there's going to be that midterm period where they're going to reevaluate and see if they need to make some adjustments based on things like that.
Well, reevaluation is not gonna help everybody pay their bills, because, I mean, the rates are just really.
Right. You normally,
And they're not that way in other parts of the city.
normally for the tier 1, we provide each home 8 HCF. So the 8 HCF is enough for 4 people to shower and use.
Okay.
And that's the national standard. It's about 50 gallons per day kind of. Oh, then we increase to 100 gallons per day per person usage. So it's based on a formula we calculate that way. And normal, individual homes on average, they use about 12 HCF. And if you have a bigger lawn, and then that's gonna be a different story if you have a swimming pool. But indoor use, the tier 1 is designed for indoor use. For average home, 4 people, that's how we calculate that.
Okay, but I'm one person.
Right, you should have more than enough.
And I'm.
We need to get 4
and
people.
I'm in
Okay.
tier 3 sometimes.
Do you have a pool?
No,
No? That can be some kind of, it's a big lawn.
in the big one, I took out all the sprinklers.
Okay, well, what we'll do for the sake of time, because I know we have other questions, I'll give you my card and we can follow up with you and get some more information on that. Gentleman right here in the front.
Yeah, I want to address not necessarily the pricing, because I understand about the tiering and the variability. So before I was a computer engineer, worked as an electrical engineer for Alabama Power Company, designing power substations, so I am more focused on the data. And simply put, my power consumption has doubled from last year to this year. Specifically, the June electric bill was 535 kilowatt hours from last year. This year, the same bill was 1,407, so that was more than double. Last year, the August electric bill was 1,400, and this year it was almost 28. So it's a clear double. What's interesting about that is for the period under the billing, the temperatures from last year to this year, I went to historical data. And found that for the August period from 2016 versus August of this year, the period was 0.6 degrees lower for the high and 0.5 degrees higher for the low. So it was a very narrow gap. That cannot, just from an engineering perspective, that cannot explain a doubling of power consumption. So the temperature was almost at a wash. I also installed a Nest thermostat in my home last October, and I've been using the Eco setting on that to make sure that I'm not drawing too much power from unnecessary conditions. Yeah. And so just the data says that if, from my perspective, this doesn't make sense. The thing that explains this is if there is an error in the measurements themselves. So I have to question the power meters, and the smart meters themselves are subject to error. Analog, believe it or not, is still pretty reliable.
You have a smart meter, sir?
That is, yes. So the question is, when I submitted all this data, I got a form letter back. And the form letter was, make sure you don't run your air conditioner all the time, and as far as the water goes, make sure that you don't have a leak in your pool. I don't have a pool.
Okay, so this certainly warrants further investigation. I'd be happy to follow up with you because that's certainly a compelling amount of data that you compiled there. So we could definitely take a look at that and get some more investigation.
Probably, the next time you ask, you ask for a person on site testing the meter and when you turn your AC on, see what kind of amperage you're using, and then you will get a feel for it. Because if you're engineer, you couldn't figure out, what's the usage, and then from there. Because otherwise, it's difficult for building people to try to figure out. This is very difficult. So you have a testing person on site, and they hook up the testing equipment. And then you ask, you take a look, turn on the different, your appliance and see what's the usage. And then you will get a feel for what's the cost. Or there's no problem, the meter problem. So they will tell you right there.
Right.
So you ask for testing, and you're gonna watch and turn the things on and off and see what's going on.
If there's a reason to do that kind of investigation, we can get somebody out there. I'll definitely follow up with you, and if you have something along the same lines, we can certainly look into that option. We had a gentleman in the back, then we'll come up here. Yes, sir.
So the reason we're all here because we've had bills for a history of several years. We've all taken measures to conserve energy. We've all shown sometimes a lowering of energy or slight lowering of power and water, but our bills have all gone up. So, what we want to know is, have the rates gone up substantially to justify our rate increases? And is the way you are measuring electricity substantially different than we calculated, our rates have all gone up, our bills have gone up? Or should we in fact expect the same amount of billing as we have in the history of the last 3 years, in which case we'll have a problem? Have your rates gone up enough to justify all of the increases of all the people that were supported?
It's probably impossible.
With the decrease in usage.
Well, it's impossible to answer that question definitively.
It is possible to answer. Has the DWP raised your rates substantially? Or what is the rate increase over the last 3 years that we can expect for power and water with the same usage?
So the power, we just approved, the city council approved a rate increase for water and power from 2016 all the way to 2020. On average, power increase about 2% annually. On the water, maybe around 5% annually. And also water conservation kicking pretty hard. The city usage, overall city usage dropped by about 20%. So that individual price going up, pretty high, if you compare to the past, because the total usage is dropped.
So you say usage drops, so the price goes up.
Well, right, because the unit price goes up. But if you also save about 20% like everybody else, then your price is going to be whole. But if you only do 10% or 15%, then relatively your number is going to be high.
So it's 20% rate increase when we just
5% annually. So now we are exactly about 10% rate increase on the water, about 5% on the power. So far.
Gentleman here.
I respect everybody's opinion in regards to the data. Here's my dilemma. In April, my bill for water, specifically talking about water, an average over the last 18 months before that, was about $300. In April, it went up to $800. When I questioned it, they said, maybe you have a leak somewhere. I spent another $500 with a contractor and a plumber to check and make sure I did not have any leaks. I have no leaks in my home, no leaks under my foundation, no leaks at the meter, no leaks everywhere, okay? I did that, what they asked me to do. The June bill come out, we went from $700 to $1,200. Okay, I called back. I've had 2 of your people call me. One actually came, twice they came out. The first time they came out, they claimed they were going to call me so that I could be there when they came, and they didn't do that. And they said there was nothing wrong with the meter. The second time, about a month or so later, another guy comes up. He says, there's nothing wrong with your meter, you must have something wrong with your home. I showed them the bill that my contractor and my plumber went and saw that there was no leaks inside or outside of my home. The August bill comes out. No repairs have been done. And mysteriously, my water bill goes back down to $300.
It's going the right way.
No change in usage, no change in the amount of people in my home, and no one can explain it. I've already paid off the April bill. I have my June bill delayed until November. I am in the process of paying off the August bill. But I am not okay with this. We're talking a couple $1,000s worth of water only, just water. And you can't explain why it went up, and then back to normal with no changes and no repairs on my property.
And the consumption on your bill, was that consistent all the way across?
Over the course of the last 18 months up until June, up until April, yes.
Okay, let
And
me
then it
follow up
changed.
on that, because if people aren't getting back.
Everybody has already followed up on it, sir.
Well-
With all due respect, I've talked to every single one of your supervisors. I've had a field rep out to my house. I had your investigation team out to my house, and no one will justify the difference in opinion.
I have to call the press.
Yeah,
I
time to
did
get
that,
the news and
and they ignored me. I called Channel 4. I called them with that investigative I-team crap, and they ignored me. They said, we won't investigate this.
Well, if you'd like,
My
sir,
next
I
step
understand.
will be the mayor's office.
I understand your frustration. I can do what I can do, and a lot of times customer service, when we follow through from the community affairs side, we can usually see something through to resolution. I can't guarantee that the result's gonna be different, but what I can do is follow up with you and see if we can get you some answers. That's what I can offer. That's what I can do to help.
In all reality, sir, and I'm not sure how much your name is,
Jason.
Jason, I appreciate you trying to find a solution. There's only one solution that's going to make me happy. Lower my bill. I want my money. And I don't want to pay $1,200 for something that I didn't pay for the 18 months. That's the only solution that's going to make me happy. So if you can't fix that, there's no need for us to communicate.
Find a solution where your billing system is correct.
Well-
And I'm asking people what they should charge when they get a $1,700 bill, and it should be $700. There's obviously a big problem with the DWP.
Well, the vast majority of our bills are not estimated at this point, so most.
Take their night away from their night, to be here, to take your time and to drive and to get security here and whatever, unless I feel there's a problem with your billing system, like this gentleman had to go through 3-4 months of discussions. It's something wrong with the DWP billing, and I believe there's also something, a problem, sorry, I'll let you guys speak in 1 second, sorry. But I just think that there's been some public knowledge of whether the DWP has had problems of taking money illegally from funds and paying for things that are not correct. I mean, stealing. I don't want to say that because I don't know the facts in my mind, I just hear what I hear on the radio. And we're all here, and there should be many more people here because everybody is afflicted by this situation. So, and it is a holiday. And it is a holiday, it's a Jewish holiday, hold this on a Jewish holiday.
Well, we're here at the meeting. We don't host the meeting. We're here to respond to questions and concerns, and we can certainly come out anytime that the neighborhood council would like us to
So
be
if you
here.
got a group of people together, and you would have many more people together here if it wasn't a holiday.
It's also rather interesting, these water bills went up after you had the problem at the sinkhole. And the problem on the other side of Mulholland with the house built down in the
And after they got raises.
Exactly. It's very coincidental that after the sinkhole down on Lower Canyon Boulevard, this is when it went up, when it started to go up. Regardless, it's rather interesting to me. I am not gonna say I'm not an engineer, okay? I'm a social worker.
Okay.
You know,
Question in the back?
Well, I got, not so much questions, it's sort of observation and clarification. Richard and Rita can vouch for this. Years ago, it came out that the DWP was billing this entire area in the wrong climate zone. And it was like, oh my God, it was an accident, we'll fix it any day now. Near as I can remember, we never did get the fix or the rebates. So that's one thing for you to look at, is make sure you're actually billing us in the proper zone. And second of all, and this is for you that we're paying attention to the last couple of droughts and shortages, every time they come, oh my God, please cut back, cut back, and they go, oh my God, we don't get money, so they can get rate. So, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, because they need certain, they need to pay the VIG on everything every month. So when you cut back, they raise your rates to make sure they got the nut. Then the last thing was, is my bill didn't go up because the rates changed. You claim I use more power in the summer, even though I don't have air conditioning. So it's not that the rates went up, you're saying I'm using more power, and I got nothing to use more power with.
Question here in the front.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not using more power. I'm using less because I actually I contracted a disease where my body temperature is very low. So this year my temperature on my thermostat's been sick. It almost never, my air conditioning almost never. And yet my bill almost tripled for electricity. And it just seems like, if you pay attention to the Laurelwood, whatever it's called, the community newsletter on the internet, there were a good 40, 50 people. Just, these are people that know about the Laurelwood newsletter. A lot of people don't. They were all like, what's going on? Everybody's talking, and several people in the room, it's double, it's triple. Nobody says 10%. I don't know what you're talking about with 10%. And this just feels like, some people have hinted at, it feels like corruption. It feels like just outright corruption. And I hope you're investigated by, whether it's the news media or whoever. We're talking about, other people are talking about how you've done things in the past that are wrong. You guys just got enormous raises, and suddenly our bills shoot up with no extra usage. Everyone is saying no, we're not here because we have nothing to do. We're here because we're furious, because we feel like we're being ripped off by a entity that has nobody really watching them, and maybe they're politically hooked up in some way. It just feels terribly, terribly wrong.
I'm sorry for the trouble that I understand the frustration. I hear it on a pretty frequent basis in this job. I've been with the department about 2.5 years, and the rates issue was an interesting one to me. I'm in an area where I'm served by Edison and a private water company. I've seen my water rates go up dramatically more. Now, when you're talking about double-digit increases or more in your bills, I understand why that's concerning. There's a whole lot of variables out there, and this isn't really an appropriate forum to have a point-by-point categorical debate on all of the things that are being said. What we're here to talk about tonight, what we can talk about with some veracity, is what the rates are, how they went up, and what some of the factors driving them are. Sometimes people have leaks. Sometimes people have things that they weren't aware of. Sometimes it's a mistake on the department's part. What I'm here to do is to make sure that we can get clarity on these things and to be able to get some follow through. That's what I can commit to do. Sometimes our customer service people, they don't end up following through and completely resolving a customer's concern. With us pushing on the other end, we can make sure that at least gets brought through to some sort of conclusion. Again, I know not every customer is always happy about the outcomes. A lot of times they are, but what I can commit to you is that I'm going to work with you to try to find out the answers to what these problems are. This isn't something where people are walking away and pocketing money where there's wide-scale corruption. There's some valid criticisms. I had a good discussion with one of the gentlemen here in the audience before the meeting started. He pointed out some things, and I can see where he's coming from. But again, anecdotal, speculative statements, those aren't things that I can really address as an employee of the department. What I can address is these billing issues, and that's what we're going to work with you on.
And just one answer the question about the temperature zone. 2008, we designed the temperature zone. Then right after that, the councilman at the time, raised the question, which temperature zone should it be. And we look at the Studio City, and it's gray area. I'll be honest, can go either way. We made a change 2009 or 10. So you're on the the hotter zone, and it didn't fix that. So I can't have the city council all this pass this language, and also our ordinance spell out that way. So it didn't fix that. I just have yes, there was a discussion back then, and we did take action to solve that problem for you.
Just the one takeaway I hope you are hearing from this whole room, this is not necessarily a billing issue or a rate issue. This is an unexplained triple-digit consumption mystery. Right?
waterfall. Again, looking with some places, that absolutely might be the case. Again, I can't, what I told the gentleman in the back is I can't answer definitively because I don't know everybody's historical consumption, whether it's went up, down. I don't know what kind of things that people have changed in their homes. So I don't know if that's actually happened or if there's some other issue or if there is a mistake on our end with the billing somehow where we're not getting it right. Well, that's why we're talking about getting people out there to take a look at it and maybe get a better handle on what's actually happening until we have it down. Because right now this is anecdotal until we're looking at the actual factual information, the empirical data, it's hard for us to make an assessment on everybody's individual, unique billing issues. But again, that's why we're here, is to respond to the concerns and be able to follow up on them. We'll get to you in a second. This gentleman in the front, then go to the back. Yes, sir.
Based on what we're hearing, this is just a small part of what the overall California probably has with the Department of Water and Power. You get building a war chest. What's happening with this war chest of money that you're building seems like increased rates? You have solar panels areas, you have wind turbines, and you're lowering the cost from getting away from the petroleum costs, the coal. So where is all this money going that you're bringing in from these higher rates?
That's a great question. So really easy answer, and you can do a little bit more research to get the detail on it. If you go to myladwp.com, that's like a more user-friendly website. We have ladwp.com. I'm not a fan of our corporate website because it's almost impossible to find anything, so don't waste your time there. Go to myladwp.com, and there's a section on rates and about the rates case and where the investments are going. Roughly 80% of all of those investments, which is roughly about $17 billion, I think, over 5 years, that's all going into infrastructure. This isn't going into staffing, this is going into power poles, this is going into trunk lines, this is going into main lines, it's going into hard infrastructure. So there's not a war chest per se being built. That rates money that's coming out of this 5-year process, it was used to leverage it to borrow money to be able to make that roughly $17 billion investment, which is akin to when you replace a roof on your house. If you don't replace your roof in time, what happens? It rains and it creates more bills. It costs more in the long run. There's a lot of can kicking in the past where infrastructure wasn't kept up with, whether it was because there was an election or whatever else. I can't speak to a long-term history. Again, I've only been with the department 2.5 years. However, what they're doing is they're playing catch up on a lot of infrastructure. And one metric I can give you, a healthy utility for their water rates, the replacement cycle on all of their pipelines is roughly 150 years. And these pipes, these ones that go underground, usually last 100, 200 years depending on the salinity in the soil. 150 years is a very healthy utility. DWP's replacement cycle is at 300 years before the rate investment. With this rate investment, it's going to bring it back down to about 200 years by the time we're done after 5 years. So we're still not going to be at the top of the replacement cycle for our water pipelines. We're not going to be right at the top at 150, but we're going to be a lot closer. That's going to put us in the upper tier. So to answer your questions, just kind of summarize it, it's going directly into the infrastructure. That's where that rates increase is going, sir.
Although you're bringing in other sources to lower your cost of operation in these solar cells and wind turbines, bringing in, the cost is much lower. Of course, the water system budgeted years ago that you had to have a replacement. I'm sure you did, being a big organization. So what you're saying is you're bringing in this extra money now to fill in that budget, which you didn't anticipate earlier?
Some of it is playing catch up on deferred maintenance from the past. What you're talking about with wind and solar, that kind of energy, those take substantial investments as well. And people still haven't, the technology wizards out there, whether it's Tesla or whoever else, they still haven't solved the storage problem. So it's not something where all of a sudden, hey, this energy is cheaper, it's going to drop. We still have a dependency on other types of power generation because you don't have solar and wind, generally speaking, available in the evenings. And it's also something where we always have to look at the energy mix. But if you want to get into the weeds on what these plans are, a ballpark idea of what they cost, there's something called the Power Integrated Resource Plan. And that's every 2 years we reevaluate where the department's power mix is going from, where we're going to generate our power, and what our needs are. So that's something that could probably give you a little bit more detail, and that's available on our website. Right. And then I had somebody, I think, back here, and then I'll come here.
Specific instructions. Like all I can do is our bill, all the sections of the triple, double. What specifically do you do to edit address?
Well, what I'm saying is contact me directly, and what I'm gonna do,
How do we reach you, sir?
I'll give you my direct phone number if you wanna write it down. My name's Jason Stinnett. I'm the liaison to the Valley Neighborhood Council's customer outreach. My direct line is 213-798, 367, giving you the wrong number, 367-3803.
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure, 213-367-3803.
And your name again, please, can you spell it?
Jason, and my last name is STINNETT.
And what's your title again, please?
I'm a public relations specialist.
Please, can we have your email also?
Sure, Jason dot Stinnett, and that's STINNETT at LADWP.com.
My problem, you do that one.
Sure, actually, I'll leave a stack of cards and that'll help, but it's Jason.Stinnett, STINNETT at LADWP.com.
Jason, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Since there doesn't seem to be any explanation for any of this, how does it all work? Like, all the meters are electronic, I take it?
No,
Yes,
some are
no?
still analog. I think right now there's some smart meters. There's not a whole lot of them out there yet. We're still in pilot phase with that. So most of the meters aren't. Most of the meters are standard analog meters at this point still in our system.
So is there any control at the DWP offices, any connection between the meters and your offices, where there could be something that went wrong?
That's a technical question that
Well, that's what I'm asking. Could it be something technical?
For the mechanical meters, there's no way we can control it. In the city, we deploy about 50,000 smart meters at this point. And I don't know the exact location, but mostly it's all the old-fashioned meter. There's no communication. We can't control it over the wires.
But the smart meters, they do have a connection to the offices?
Yes, for the smart meters.
So is it possible that some of these issues could be some issue between the office and their meters, their smart
We
meters?
have no idea what kind of meter they have, but
That might be something to check
It's
into.
a possibility. If they do have a smart meter, that's something we could look at. Again, it's hard for me to respond, it's hard for either of us to respond to individual things without having somebody actually look at the account and in some cases actually go out to the property and inspect it.
I'm just curious what the connection is between what your office has control over or how this all works.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And a lot of times when I come out and I talk to folks, I think with councilmen, I end up learning a lot because I have to go back and find the answers to these questions. So that's something I can definitely follow up on. Okay. And, you see,
Jason?
ma'am?
Hi. I came a few minutes late, I was in another meeting, so if I'm repeating the question, please let me know.
Sure.
But I am president of HOA on Valley.
Can you speak up? We can't hear you.
Oh, there you go. Okay, hi. I was saying that my name's Pam Geller. I apologize for so late. I was at another meeting and I didn't know if this was brought up. I'm president of the HOA on Valley Park. And we watched the bill go from 300 to 600 to 800 to 1,200 to 3,000. And we had somebody come out. They did fix something. There was a slow leak and a quiet leak. So they didn't know about it.
Right.
We contacted, we sent, we got everything fixed, they checked everything, but no response, no checking of the other meters. They said they were averaging. And I know there are errors. I know there are errors. And I don't know if you admitted there's errors, but I know there are. This is not possible. So when we say we called, we wrote letters, a lot of us are frustrated. What do we do next? You're going to have all these people call you and email you. What are you going to do?
Well, what I'm going to do, and I did cover this, but I'll summarize again. I'm in community affairs, so my job is to talk to people about projects that are going to come in and turn your lives upside down if you have a business or a home, and we're going to be there for a month or two. But it's also to deal with issues like rates questions and when people have. or billing problems or potential errors. Again, I can't speak to it without looking at it all, but basically what I'm going to do is once I get your information, get a summary of the situation, I'm going to move that over to the Customer Relations Office, which is where we deal with elevated customer concerns. We have a customer call center where people call in. Ideally, we resolve problems at that level. We don't always, and most of what I'm hearing here, these aren't customer call center level inquiries. What these are Customer Relations Office inquiries. These are elevated. So we're going to be able to look at historical usage. We're going to, if we need to, we're going to dispatch somebody out there to go take a look. And maybe some of this stuff has happened before. Maybe it's been definitive, maybe it hasn't. Again, I can't speak to it because I haven't seen it, I don't know it. But what I do is I make sure that there's follow through and that there's at least some kind of closure on it. And again, like I say, I can't promise that it's going to come out the way that people hope it will. Sometimes there's reasons that are driving their cost factors up that are within the responsibility of the homeowners. There's times where it's a mistake on behalf of the department. But what we want to do is be able to get that answer and be able to get it figured out so there's at least clarity on everybody's part.
I guess I have a great concern that we have people and they're doing their homework and they're turning down, they're conserving, they're doing all this, they're watching their bills, they call and they get frustrated because the other end is not acknowledging.
Understood. Well, I'm here to acknowledge that you guys are having problems, and I do apologize for the trouble that everybody's experiencing, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you guys resolve these issues.
What can you do other than just acknowledge?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting a lot of acknowledgement.
I just explained it, ma'am. Basically, what I do is I'm going to follow through and make sure that the Customer Relations Office does everything that they're supposed to do, and that way we can get answers to the questions, so that way it's not left up in the air where people are unclear on what's driving their bills, whether it's something on the property within the responsibility or authority of the homeowner, or whether it's a mistake on the part of DWP. That's what I can do, and that's what I've been repeatedly emphasizing that I'm here to do.
And I hope I'm surprised. I hope I'm surprised because I'm not sure what you're going to do other than what the other people have done.
Me too. I hope you're surprised as well, pleasantly
I
surprised.
have a question regarding
Well,
this
you've already
question.
asked. Let me get to other people, ma'am.
They're going in order.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had, let me see, where was it? Thought I had some.
Mine's really quick. Do we have to have a smart meter that's dumb?
Well,
I really think that it might be the smart meters.
we don't. Is this area have smart meters been launched here in this area on a wide basis?
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause-
I really think that
Okay.
it's having to do, it just seems like it's coincidental that we've had problems since the smart meters.
That's what Ms. Berlin was just mentioning. I wasn't aware that they've been deployed in large numbers here, so that may be a factor. So that's something that I'm going to bring up when I talk to.
Analog meter?
Uh,
Is it mandatory?
That I don't know, but I can find out the answer to that question. Just was after. Okay, so that's at least a good starting point for me to talk to the Customer Relations Office about. So we'll go over here back to you, and then we'll come over here, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't realize that there were different rates for different, like, you brought up the point about for a cool area, for a hot area.
There's temperature zones.
I didn't know about that.
There's temperature zones. This is more George's area of expertise, but generally speaking, and I don't know the nuts and bolts, and George can add to it certainly, but people living in the valley, I think because you're on the edge, I'm not sure which one you fall into, but people living in the valley, because it's hotter here on average than it is in most other parts of the city of Los Angeles, there's a slight discount on the rate for that reason to try to find some kind of, I guess, establish some kind of equity in the rates.
There's a discount when it's a hotter area.
It's a rate that's changed based on what the heat is in an area if it's hotter. And
Right.
So there's a discount if it's a heated area.
We provide you more tier one allotment, like for the power, here's 500 kVA, first tier, metro gets 350. The reason being that we look at it, you use the refrigerator, you have to use the lighting, all these stuff, because in the hotter temperature, all these equipment gonna work harder, so you get an extra, tier one allotment. And the same thing with the water too. We measure the soil, say how much water you need to grow the grass, and then based on that, we say, okay, we give you according to your temperature, then give you the allotment. So it's all based on the science, and we design this way.
Okay.
Okay, so can I take one last question over here?
Sure.
We kind of have other things.
Okay.
I just, when you were, when the DWP was doing its outreach with respect to the rate increase, when it was being proposed and they were doing their outreach, one of the things that they explained was that they were not only going to increase over time the rates, but also change the tiering, change the amount that you were allowed in each tier. So I think not only are we experiencing now the 10% because we're in 2 years into the rate increase on one cycle, you know, 5% on the other portion of the bill, and then of course the sewer charge as well going up, which is all, you know, must be up 10% because it's traveling with the water rate. So in addition to that, we've had, I'm sure, a change in the tier, you know, that we're being put into, which is being charged at a higher rate. All those things are compounding. And so if people are having smart meters that aren't being monitored properly or whatever, there's a problem, that's really exacerbating the already existing fact that we're probably at about a 20% increase already in year 2 on our bills.
No, that's an excellent point. I think the smart meter is one of the places that we're going to start with the customer relations office. That's kind of potentially an umbrella issue for a lot of the people that have problems in this particular area. So I think we're definitely going to start that. But I do agree. I think that all of this can be compounded. You have the 5% increases in power between 2016 and now that we're in 2017. So you're talking 10%. You're talking about a pretty hot summer, especially in July. That could have been driving it. So there's probably a lot of factors that are contributing.
And the change in the tier, which is what I objected to when the outreach was going on, was like changing the tiers as well. I mean, it was just like everything was going to drive these bills up. And the DWP was here saying, no, it's not going to be all that much. But clearly, it is all that much because our stakeholders are here and they're feeling the pinch.
And without supporting or defending the tiers and the way they were set up, the reason that they were set up was to drive and promote conservation. It certainly sounds like most everybody in here has really done their homework and made investments to try and control their costs and their usage. So that point is well taken. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, so.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate
Want
your
to
time.
leave a couple cards up here for the front?
They're here. I'm sure I'll be hearing from you. This is what I've got. If not, you can contact Jessica at the Council District Office.
I've got one, you can put it on the webpage.
Okay. Thank you for having this. And if we have more of these, please make sure I get them before I go.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a treasurer's report without a treasurer. Did everyone receive all that? Yeah, he didn't want to do it.
Okay, sorry.
He didn't want to do it. Okay. Did everybody look at the monthly expenditure report? This is an automatic, when it comes out from done. It's all done by computer generated, so everything that we have spent money on for the month of August is right here. There's nothing outstanding. What it doesn't tell us, and what I don't have to tell you about, is where our bank account is at the moment. Because the stormtrooper that had the, I own a stormtrooper from Rob, I cannot download the information. It tells me that the formatting is incorrect. So I don't know what format it's in, because I can open a variety of different things. So otherwise I can tell you where our bank account is right now. But if everyone has looked at this is computer generated and it's from done. It tells us what it is. If anybody has any problems with this, we need to approve that we reviewed the monthly expenditures for August and accept them as appropriate.
I have one question.
Yes.
So those are payments that were already made though, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's all.
All of our outstanding bills that we have sent in for most, I think, all of the people, all of the monies that has been spent on cars and food and all of those things, everything is accounted for here. All of the receipts have been downloaded.
They're all visible on the website.
I do that for anybody.
Because it was, I got reimbursed already a couple months ago, but it's on there, so.
It depends on when, it also depends on like your checkbook, when it cleared.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's not like.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with when the checks actually clear.
Okay.
Okay? The motion essentially is the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council has reviewed the monthly expenditure report for August 2017 and hereby accepts and approves. Since this is a monetary thing, we have to go by the names. I can call, and we have to turn this in. So I will call everybody's name. Richard Welsh.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Mr. Couteau.
Yes.
Patrice.
Yes.
Heidi.
Yes.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes.
And yes. Thank you very much.
Madam President,
Yes, dear.
Ms. Jessica, something.
Richard, do you run this meeting? Who runs this meeting? I mean, honestly.
Greg, let's stop it.
Honestly.
Go clean your tablecloth, young man. Jessica has something to say she didn't want to say for the DWP people.
Oh,
I saw her hand too. Thank you, Richard.
can I take care of what we're taking care of now and then go to it, please? Thank you. All right, that's done. I will take your comment, please.
Thank you, everyone. I wanted to let the board know, and the constituents who are still here, that the council member wanted me to directly let everyone know that he is paying attention to the issue with the billing complaints, and he's asked me to keep track of everyone's rate issues and their account numbers, and I'm meeting with his policy director in about 2 weeks when he returns from Japan, and we are going to, if there is an issue, he's going to speak to someone high up in DWP, and we'll draft a policy if we need to. So it's on the council members' watch now, just to let everyone know.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, now for a minute. We have the Budget Committee report. Mr. Lewis is out of town with family issues. We also have 3 motions that were passed by the Budget Committee that have come to us. The first one is for the October 21st Emergency Preparedness event, and we have someone here who is going to explain what the event is.
Hi, I'm Patty Kirby from North Hollywood CPAB, and this will be our second annual emergency preparedness event, and our goal is to educate and get the community prepared, grassroots. We've all seen the disasters in the last couple weeks. We ordered the little 3.6 earthquake to shake everybody up, just kidding. So we've gone to great lengths to organize this event, and we have the who's who of emergency preparedness in the city. The state is not on here, but she's coming, Cal OES, and the county. It's incredibly hard to get these people all in one room, and we did it. So we really need to have a good showing and educate the people on what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. So what we've requested is the up to $250 funding for the food and the expenses towards the event. And we're asking every neighborhood council in North Hollywood, all 7, and also inviting you to have a table at the event to do a little outreach. So that's about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the expenditure of $250 towards the North Hollywood CPAB October 21st Emergency Preparedness Event. Do we have any comments?
We have Richard Adams on this.
Make this quick. For all of you that didn't sleep through the earthquake the other night, certain parties, it should have been a wake-up call. Practically knocked me out of my chair, but we won't go there. This is simply a very small expenditure given the sums of money we've spent on other things that I was less than supportive of. It's a good idea. If people show up to actually man the booth and do some outreach, we'll get more out of it. Sooner or later, the next big one's going to hit the valley, and it'll be a nice Darwinian shakeout. Those who are ready and those who weren't. So I strongly urge you to go ahead and spend this money for this.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Okay. Okay, all right, then we will vote on the motion. Richard Welsh.
Yes.
Craig Randall.
Of course.
Keith.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Patrice.
Yes.
Heidi.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes.
Yes. All right, excellent. Okay, motion B, Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the expenditure up to $3,000 of the 2017 luminaria as budgeted in the 2017-28 SCNC budget. And this is a formality because the city clerk now will not pay anything unless we have one of these lovely little vote sheets. So we have to go through the motions and vote to spend the money. Do we have any comments?
Richard Adams.
This was on which, I'm sorry?
Luminaria?
Oh, Luminaria. Good event, gets Rita busy, pulling people off the subway. It's a tradition, it's a good tradition, it's history, it's Studio City unique, by all means, spend the money.
Okay, I have two things on the fact that we have sent a request to the councilman to waive the city's fee to drop the costs at the Campo. And there's a request to maybe to relax the paying of the fees to park or ignoring for a few hours or giving out tickets for people who park in the area. So, any comments here? Yes, we do.
I had an email at one point in time in the last few weeks related to the location and to considering a change of venue. And I just wondered if we were intending to take that up or we're not intending to take that up at this time. I just wanted to be sure that,
Yeah,
that
was,
open dialogue
I
took
think
place.
Craig brought that up, and I haven't heard anything other about it.
I mean, you saw where how I feel on the issue. I think it's a good opportunity to bring the event a little closer to the heart of Studio City, especially with the Winter Festival not taking place this year in Beaman Park. But I'm not going to bang my head against the wall. If you're happy with the event, if the board's happy with the event, it is what it is.
Yeah. And the board, of course, doing all the work. So,
Well, no, I'm on the board and I would do the work, but
yeah, I think
I'm on to bigger issues.
Okay, all right.
I think it's better setting. I think Jessica should be successful in getting a fee waiver.
I mean, we're trying to get the costs down, which is not a bad
Of
thing.
course.
Okay.
I like the event, it's just a little far.
Yeah.
Then can we maybe look at, I know it's kind of late in the game to have a change in venue, but maybe we could look at that for next year to have a more
Yeah.
robust discussion about the venue.
Right.
That's all.
I
I'm
was
just
hoping
trying to
for
be sure
this,
that.
Right.
Thank you, Rita.
Okay.
When we're going over the board, we're going over the budget, in the budget committee, those are the things that we can look at, what is the cost A versus B, and what it will take to do that, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Shall we vote on this? Any more questions?
No.
Nope. Okay, then we will vote on this one too. All right. Richard Welsh?
Yes.
Craig?
Sure.
Keith?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg?
Yes.
I didn't even have to ask that one. John?
Yes.
Patrice?
Yes.
Heidi? Rita?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and let's see, last but not least, we have motion C. This is for Craig. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves the expenditure of up to $300 towards the Community Firehouse Open House Appreciation Morning that was held on Saturday last, 16th.
Richard, politics.
What?
I get you. Anyway, this was held last Saturday, and it was a request to cover the funds that Craig and John laid out for refreshments and outreach. So they would like us, they would like to get paid, they would like to get reimbursed for what they did for outreach and refreshments at the open house.
We have two comment cards. One is from Glenn Bailey.
Mr. Bailey.
Glenn Bailey, and all I know about it is what's on the agenda and what you said, but the thing that drew my attention when I first saw your agenda was the funding program for under the city clerk's office, and I think even before that, when it was under the department, does not allow for approval of expenditures after the fact, and definitely does not allow reimbursement approval after the fact. If it was in your approved budget as a line item, you might be able to make an argument, but just based on the way it's agendized here, I just, because it was after the fact without any further information, and now that I've heard it's a reimbursement, I don't think this is properly agendized. It should say it's a reimbursement and to whom it's reimbursable to, and I realize this agenda had to be done before the actual costs were known, so that probably why that's not on there.
We still have, I haven't received any.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the concern, is that
so if we, it's like, okay, they were told to spend the money and they would be reimbursed.
and that's true
Yeah.
if it had been authorized in advance of the event.
Okay, yeah, well, if we, okay, Glenn, if we change the wording on the motion to specifically pay John X amount of money and Craig X amount of money for their expenditures, is that doable? Is that passable?
I don't know, I'm just advising you, you're probably
Okay.
going to have a battle, you're going to have to deal with the funding program because it's an after-the-fact situation, but I think that would,
It would go a long ways doing it.
I think it would help that they had a motion they could point to that named the persons and the amount.
Okay.
And I don't know that at this point whether it matters that it was, 5 days after the fact versus your next meeting after the fact, but, so I'll leave that.
Yeah, well, it went through budget and essentially that's what we had, so that's what we.
Well, if you approved a budget for this event in advance, and then the question is just the method of payment, then I think you have a stronger case. Because you can use your P card, that's why you have the purchase cards to pay it, so you don't have to deal with reimbursements. But if you had authorized the funding for the event in advance, and then just a question of how is it paid for, that's a different story.
Okay. Our budget meeting was before.
It was.
Okay, so our budget meeting was before.
The board.
Board's meeting.
Before the event.
Yeah, our budget meeting was before the event, we did whatever. Okay.
And I believe it's gonna come in, we should keep it up to, but I believe it's gonna be under 200. I just have to check the
Alright.
receipts. It's
Well,
not incredible.
then what we need to do is go back at this, rewrite the motion, once you find out exactly who paid what and how much.
I think it's my
And then
three
we'll-
expenses, food,
Then we'll go,
some good giveaways. So what should I
We'll
do?
revisit. I need to know exactly how much everybody paid, and exactly what you paid for it, okay?
I'll mail you this week.
All right.
I suggest that we go ahead and vote on this motion to approve it, so we're on the record that this is our intent, and then that we will subsequently
We'll
increase the disclosure.
We'll give an accounting of the funds. Okay. All right, that makes more sense. Yeah, that's right, you do have a.
Because it already
Yes.
came from the budget,
Yeah.
discussing the budget.
Yeah.
All righty. Mr. Bailey basically riffed and came to the same sort of thing that was my comments at the budget meeting, and I will point out to every member of the board that up until the point I changed my vote, this was not going to come out of budget because it was 2-2. I've been a committee chair more than once. I understand how this process works. Everyone here has been on the board for over a year now. There's absolutely no reason that this couldn't at least been started the funding process, get some budget money, even if you didn't have a day or even which station this was going to be at, you could have gone through the process. The board is supposed to have oversight of the committees. When the committees go to do something like this, it's incumbent on the committee chair, the committee co-chair, and all the committee members to make sure the board is fully informed. As soon as you have the idea, and hey, we're looking at doing this, and we're probably going to want some money, we're thinking about this, we're not sure which station, we're not sure which day, but get it on the record. And then once you have the days nailed down, even have the days nailed down, but you have the prices and this stuff nailed down, you know it's going to be this station, but either this day, that day, or the other day, we're not sure when, come with your budget request. Come to the budget committee, show up at the budget committee to justify and defend your request, explain why this is a good use of taxpayers' money the budget committee is supposed to look after, and the board is supposed to look after, and go through the process correctly, so we're not trying to do tonsillectomy through the rectum, which is what we're doing now.
Okay.
That tank full, but.
Yeah, all right, fine. You know, life is a learning process, and we're learning as we have not done this previously, so.
So then I'd like to just make a little amendment to
Okay,
it.
go for it.
So that the motion would read, the Board of Studio City Neighborhood Council approves expenditure of up to $300 towards the Community Firehouse Open House Appreciation Morning that was held on Saturday, September 16th. Specific accounting will be provided with receipts.
Works for me. I wanted to get it on this because it's.
I understand, that's the thing.
Yeah, okay, that's fine by me.
All right, so we need a roll call vote then?
Yeah, we need another roll call vote. Mr. Welsh.
You're starting with me every time, that makes sense.
You're lucky, well, you know what happens when I make these things, I just go, okay, first A, B, C.
When I
just-
vote yes, it's very influential.
Yes,
No one would dare go a different direction.
Yes.
Hey, leader of the pack here.
Yes.
All right, Keith,
Yes.
Richard,
Yeah.
John,
Yes.
Patrice. Yep. Peggy.
Yep.
And Rita.
Yes.
And me. Okay, good.
Did you
Do I
give
get
me
to
a
vote on
chance to
mine?
vote?
Yeah.
I did.
Me, you just check yes?
Yeah.
Oh, you
What,
said
you're
yes.
gonna vote no?
Well, I hearing my
You're not Eric Brevin.
Right, he would,
Verified that she.
Yeah, he has voted
He
against it.
votes against himself, and then always, that confuses me, I'm sorry. You voted against yourself, good idea, good.
Guess he just likes voting no.
Yeah, I think he gets on a roll. All right. Okay, those can be, since he's not here, I'm signing for him.
Richard?
Okay. All right, next victim, land use.
All right. So this particular item, and Rita has pointed this out as well, is in relation to a report that was put out by the GAO, I believe, the General Accounting Office, which was involved evaluation of a number of fees that pertain to applications and appeals to the planning department. The fee now, I think, is between $400 and $800 for an appeal. This report that came out recommended stated that the amount necessary to recoup the cost of an appeal on the part of the city was somewhere in the neighborhood of $13,500, and recommended raising the appeal fee to cover those expenses. Now, this report was approved by City Council on August 23rd. What's somewhat ambiguous is what is approval of this whole report and the recommendation by the GAO, how does that translate into any particular action? We don't know. The point is, we may be a day late and a dollar short in making this comment, but it's come up from a number of community members having some concern about this, so we'll comment on it. My proposal is to comment on it, and maybe somebody will hear it, read it, listen to it, and maybe they won't, but maybe it's worth a comment anyway. So, we can take public, are there any public comments?
No, we need to read the motion and have a
Right.
second.
Okay. All right, so the motion is as follows: the Studio City Neighborhood Council, and would be filed as the CIS. In regard to the council file number 09-0969, the Studio City Neighborhood Council requests the city put a hold on any further action on increasing appeal fees for parties other than the applicant until there is adequate time for all interested parties, including homeowners and businesses, and neighborhood associations to assimilate all relevant documentation and provide a 60-day comment period to obtain input from those who will be affected. That's the motion.
Can I second that?
Okay.
Third?
Okay, good on.
So now public comment.
Okay.
So you have Richard
Mr.
Adams.
Public comment.
Well, I'm informed that it's a citizen's duty to comment on things. That's why we have this committee, because sure as hell city council doesn't listen unless you got a check in your hand. Speaking of checks, that's what this is all about. When it comes to the appeals, right now, pretty much anybody or a group of somebody's in the neighborhood, for instance, those of you who live near something like, say, Sportsman's Landing or Harvard Westlake, can file an appeal. You're not a big pocket developer, not a land raper, but you got a couple bucks together and your neighbors do. What this is supposed to do is make it nearly impossible for anybody other than people with the deep pockets who are already benefiting from the city to stifle. Once they've bought off the planning commission and the city council, you can't file an appeal anywhere unless you've got lots and lots of money. This is just another step into making LA into Blade Runner. And I keep telling people, and nobody listens, but Blade Runner was an apocalyptic vision of Los Angeles in the future to be avoided at all costs, not something to be reached as soon as humanly possible. What this is supposed to do is help them rape the land and destroy our city even faster than they already are. I strongly urge you to pass this. Maybe they won't listen, but at least we can scream rape.
He's the only one.
Is
on
the
that
only one?
comment.
All right.
Item.
Okay. Then we can do this by raise of hands. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. And moves.
Thank you.
All right. Now we come to Mr. Davis, who is stepping in for Lisa.
I'm actually the vice chair. So
Ah, okay. He's the chair for the vice.
we do it together. Is this thing on?
There's a lot of that in the council.
Okay. So the report from the Sustainability Committee, which, contrary to previous discussions, is not going to be disbanded. With internal discussions, we're sharing the leadership so that we can meet on a regular basis to address the needs, particularly this revelation tonight about using glyphosate right on the border of the LA River, right here is just mind-boggling. For a multitude of reasons, particularly since it's already been deemed illegal in the city. And so that's why we need to stay involved and active. First I'll address what's going on, and I can either do it through the motions if you'd like. There's actually 5 motions. For tonight, we're just going to address the first 3, and we'll table motions D and E for the next board meeting. So there are 2 events coming up, and if you need any background, just ask. And one is to basically track the path, the likely path of P22, the mountain lion that came from the Malibu Mountains all the way here to Studio City. In actuality, it's about 50 miles. And so on October 21st, and again on October 22nd, we're going to commemorate 2 things. One is Urban Wildlife Week on the 21st. On the 22nd will be P22 Day, and along with Tree People and in collaboration with the Urban Wildlife Festival at Griffith Park, we're going to celebrate our urban wildlife. And this is not something that we just celebrate at Griffith Park or up at Tree People. This is something you can do in your backyard. So we're going to encourage schools to develop programs about their own little ecosystems on the campus, in the kids' backyards, and in the community generally. So the first motion, motion A, is to seek a stipend of $100, and that's to provide refreshments for the event on the 21st of October. The actual event will probably bring something like 4,000 hikers over the course of the festivities. So $100 just allows us to hand out water to people during that event. So the first motion is the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports having an outreach booth at the Urban Wildlife Week at Tree People on Saturday, the 21st of October, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and provide up to $100 worth of refreshments for hikers participating in the event. So that's the first motion. The second motion is.
Yeah, okay.
What's that?
One at a time?
Okay, yeah, fine.
Okay.
So the 20 people that's parent, I had put in the of October as a
Okay,
friendly
thanks.
amendment, but the 20 people, what does that 20 people relate to?
20 people that will help man our booth over the course of a couple hours.
Okay, so that should not be part of the motion.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay, so we're gonna delete that, because we have to have something that makes sense when we write it, right, so.
As a committee member, allowing me to chime in, the 20 people, this hike is very formalized from Santa Monica all the way to Griffith Park, and because a lot of it goes along Mulholland, it's constrained for safety reasons, whatever, and restricted. So this hike, people are showing up Saturday as a body of about 20 people. And that's who we're primarily giving refreshments to, the people actually doing the ceremonial hike. There will, of course, be other people on site. The public is invited, so there'll be some people up at Tree People, obviously a lot of people from our neighborhood and the media area, so it's a good outreach event. And that's why it's $100, probably won't even need that much, mostly water, maybe some simple carbs, because they are gonna be hiking. And that's what the $100 is going for.
So they're like 20 registered participants.
Yeah, the hike along the Mulholland is very restricted for safety reasons. So they don't want a big gaggle of 100 people straggling along. It's a very small body, which is why we were asking a very small amount of money, because we're only giving refreshments to the 20 or so people on the hike.
In addition, Senator Hertzberg has been invited and Assemblyman Adrien Nazarian. So they're just seeing if their schedule will permit them to be there, but we anticipate they'll be there.
Then should I reread the motion?
Please.
Amended? Okay, so the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports having an outreach booth at Urban Wildlife Week at Tree People on Saturday, the 21st of October from 11 to 1, and provide up to $100 worth of refreshment for the 20 registered hikers participating at the event.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Just one thing, I don't know how many booths we have, but the big shakeout, the East Valley Emergency Preparedness Summit is also on the 21st from 8:30 to noon. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but yeah, there's two things happening that one day.
We have 5 booths.
Oh, that's good.
5 pop-ups.
We'll just split ourselves. This is inside.
There you go. So
You have to have a,
you
you
don't
don't
need
have to
a
have a
booth.
pop-up. This is all inside.
May I ask a technical question, since as one of these gentlemen, I think the one to the right has recently pointed out, we're supposed to understand this budget process, and I'm realizing I have very little clue. I'm just curious why, this is a budget request, right? So why does it come to us directly, and why not to the budget committee?
It went
Is
to the-
either or okay?
It did.
Good question.
I don't know.
I'm-
It came out of their committee.
Came out of committee, that's why.
Yeah, it came out of a committee.
Doesn't have to go to budget committee first, it can come directly to us.
It's supposed to come to the budget committee.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't change my.
I'm not the chair of this one, so I couldn't tell you.
About the procedure, that's all.
I think technically you're probably correct. I also think technically we've done it both ways. I'm not sure, this one is at least in comportment with the Brown Act. It's an official committee-approved agenda item put on the board agenda, and you're voting on it as a board, and it predates the actual expense.
Yeah, that's.
So there is at least some oversight, and at least most of the forms have been obeyed, and I'm not the chair, so I'm just a helpful committee member.
I mean, I'm not familiar with the bylaws, but on other boards I've been, if it comes out of committee, it can be voted on by the board as long as it's a roll call vote. It just depends on what the bylaws say.
We'll just do a roll call vote.
It's just a technical point, it came
Yeah, no,
out of
it's a
the
good-
earlier
it's a good question.
discussion, so.
Your point is well taken, and it should have gone to budget, but it didn't, so.
We have no problem doing that.
By the time.
Let's just, I mean, we can take action like this. Yeah, I don't mean to sidetrack action.
All right. Roll call vote.
In theory, we could probably get it through Budget Committee and back to this board before October 21st.
When's the next meeting?
I say it's here, let's do it now.
Let's just,
Yeah, only if it's necessary.
Okay,
I mean, I
we're
think
gonna-
what we do need
We're
to.
going to do it by oil, and we're going to have a roll call vote.
Start with Richard, so we know how to vote.
There we go. We're gonna start with Craig instead.
Okay.
We're gonna change it up.
Yes.
Yes, dear, let me.
Yeah, I was, for quite a while, I was pushing Lisa Kane Davis basically to say preserving and sustaining wild animals is part of sustainability. And finally, something happened, and they realized that yes, it is. Part of it was driven by a couple of little mountain lion kids in my backyard. I figured you gotta sustain them too.
Well, maybe they'll come out and watch the guys hike, how's that?
Maybe they'll have a snack.
You'll pick off the weak one.
The last one in line gets eaten.
Do not kneel down and tie your shoelaces.
There you go. Craig, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Heidi?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Patrice?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
It's okay, one's right behind me, that's fine. Rita?
Yes.
All right,
Thank you.
we have a winner. Okay,
Okay, motion B is, the Board of the Sioux City Neighborhood Council supports hosting an outreach booth at the P22 Day and Urban Wildlife Festival at Griffith Park, Sunday, October 22nd, 2017, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's no fee for that at all. We're invited to participate, so we just want to show our political support for mountain lions.
And it's not just mountain lions, but they want to build a bypass under or over the freeway out in the Santa Monica area, Santa Monica Mountain area, to allow the wildlife populations to migrate back and forth, especially the mountain lions, because when they have cubs and they grow up some, they have to move on, or there will be genocide amongst the mountain lions. And there needs to be a way for them to safely get across the freeways. I think you may have seen the news last year or so. A couple of them got killed, one right after the other, up to 2018. And, you know, now that the mountain lions are coming back, and you know, we decided we wanted them in our neighborhoods, you got to work with them to, you know, keep them alive in the neighborhoods. So, and this event is over at Griffith Park. If I remember correctly, it's over by the merry-go-round and everything. So there'll be plenty of parking, plenty of things to do, and it should be a fairly good-sized crowd, which will be a good opportunity for the Studio City Neighborhood Council, the Neighborhood Council process in general, to get the word out. So we'll need bodies to go to that too.
okay,
And PF22, of course, lives in Griffith Park.
of course.
You might visit us.
Maybe he visits his friends at the zoo, who knows? Okay,
Show of hands.
Bring pot roast.
okay. Okay, this one we can do by just a show of hands. Okay, Ron. Thank you. And we're on to C?
Yes.
Okay. The Board of the Sioux City Neighborhood Council requests Council District 2 to publicly share the tree removal report received from the CFAC. The public shall be easily accessible. The public notice shall be easily accessible and available in a timely manner via a new static tree removal page connected to the current www.paulpiccorian.org/environment webpage. So basically, it allows the public to see where trees are destined for removal. We've lost a lot of our canopy, which does a host of things. Bird flyovers are eliminated, which creates a shift in the ecosystem. We lose our shade, which heats up the environment. So there's a lot of reasons that we want to know if something's going to be removed. Particularly, I can tell you my brother lives a couple blocks from here, and so a homeowner decided they were going to remove 5 mature oak trees, which is against the law. We called the city, and they sent out people, and it turned out that the homeowner prevailed, which is mind-boggling because it was in the right of way. This happened about 2 years ago, right above Carpenter School. So what we want to do is just have someplace where the public can see what's going on, and it's right under the nose of the councilman or councilmember Burden. So.
And what this report is it comes out, we're told is with Jackie Keene, the senior lady there at NoHo, got this report back in March, and it's basically a report of all those trees being removed from the sidewalk repair process. Now, they've known about it since March, and yet the only time the public finds out the tree in their neighborhood is getting removed is when somebody shows up to cut it down to replace the sidewalk. This is simply information the city already has. You know, they've got to get it electronically, and all we're asking them to do is electronically put it on a webpage, which would be as hard as, and let the public know. It's simply a request for them to do, to give us information.
Does that report, is it just a spreadsheet, or is it graphical in any way?
I've never seen it, nobody brought it, this report exists. What it is a listing, probably have to be a spreadsheet, because address, type of tree, reason for removal, projected date, whatever. But they've had the information since this spring, and yet we, the citizens in CD2, to this date, have no access to it when we ought to be able to get access. What's the point of having the city online if we can't get online info?
And here's just to give you some clarification also. So you look at this acronym, CFAC, that's Community Forest Advisory Committee. That's part of the city of LA. That's not a bunch of people in their kitchen deciding, dictating policy. This is the city. They have regular meetings. You can look at right on the city website and see that they meet, they make decisions, they tell you right there what's a protected tree. Oak is, of course, the first one on the list, unfortunately, for the 5 right a few blocks away. So they have monthly meetings, they have to have an agenda, they have to publish the findings if there are any. So we're just saying transmit those, not just in CD2, but see all the council districts.
It's citywide.
Citywide.
So transmit them, but if you wanted to find it, you couldn't find it. If I wanted to find it,
well, I'm on their website right now, and it's not. You can't see the agenda. It's very comprehensive, except for that one fact.
Interesting. Okay. Because one of the things that the city is doing is very interesting is in relation to their data portal and making a lot of city data accessible. And this seems like it would be a great wedding between a GIS system and pinpoint, and you could look in your neighborhood and see what trees are targeted for removal. Something more useful than a spreadsheet, ideally, but at least a spreadsheet.
Whatever it is, they're not sharing the data.
Okay, we have a comment.
Yeah, Glenn Bailey.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want me to use the mic? I just happen to be slightly involved in this, so I can take ahead a little bit. So first of all, I'm one of the steering board members on the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance citywide, and we do have a trees committee that's been working on this issue, and it came to our board to bless it, if you will. So the few things I just want to share is that the information for a request to remove a tree or trees, plural, is I guess it's a permit, but the information is per request, per permit. And those are forwarded to different entities in the city, including the Community Forest Advisory Committee, and to the respective council office, because it's coded by council office. However, it's not coded by neighborhood council, which is what we at the Sustainability Alliance were suggesting, since there's 97 neighborhood councils, is just send it to the respective neighborhood councils in addition to whatever else you do. Because then we're more local than even a council office, and great to have the council office, and great that you're supporting this, but council districts are big also. And if it went to a specific neighborhood council, then chances are we may have knowledge of the particular neighborhood, maybe even the particular property, the particular tree that they're looking at. But I did want to indicate that what is being requested to be posted through this motion, it's not a spreadsheet, unfortunately. It is a individual document that reflects this request to remove a tree. And they send it out based on the council districts. And then we have to figure out how do we get that out. How do we get that out to the public? We're working on it to try to make it more neighborhood council friendly and more public friendly, but this is a good first step. because right now, the only way for the public to find out about these tree removals is to go on the website for Public Works, and you get notice once it's been set for hearing to go to generally the Board of Public Works, and sometimes not even that. So even though the actual permit request in this document has existed, as was stated, for quite a few months, and I looked at a few of these cases, one of them was like for 5 months. It had been sitting there, it was known, but it didn't get scheduled for a hearing until, say, July, and then it was very quickly at that point. So what we're trying to figure out is from the time it gets filed until the time of the hearing, whether that's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 months, there's some things that if it's an important tree species or a large number of trees or whatever it is, if it's something that meets that threshold of interest, we'd have time to be able to weigh in on it as a neighborhood council, since we only meet once a month. So again, this is a first step, but I did want to clarify those few things and know that we're trying to make it even better.
Okay, any questions?
So we might see in the future a motion that would be asking for neighborhood council notification that would go up the chain. This is going to Krikorian's office.
Right. Yeah, I think Heidi is our rep from sustainability to the neighborhood sustainability, whatever the hell they are.
The tree committee, yeah, I definitely recommend.
Yeah, interesting, okay.
All right, shall we vote on it by a show of hands? Everyone for this motion? Okay, everybody is waiting. We're good.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
All right, you're only gonna do that one, what about,
We're gonna table those till.
5?
We can do D&E if you want.
Well, let's do, wait,
Oh, okay.
there was somebody sitting here.
No, we have someone
Oh,
sitting here
yeah,
for 11.
No, 11. You,
So
okay,
we
you
can
can
table those.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll table.
We'll table
You
D&E.
can go next time,
They're
it's,
time sensitive, aren't they?
wait, let's see, hold on.
One of them has tree trimming, and one
Well,
of them is,
E is trying to teach the city to sing.
How to trim a tree.
Yeah.
good luck on that one.
Yeah.
Here's a chainsaw, have fun.
Actually, D might be somewhat time sensitive on the halt the rebate program until they pull their head out, but
Well,
we'll split the difference. Can we do D?
Let's do D.
Let's do D, yeah.
Okay.
So motion D is the Board of the Sioux City Neighborhood Council supports, it should be the establishment, or,
Yes, supports the establishment.
of due process or replacement process for tree removal under new sidewalk repair program. Additionally, seeks to halt rebate program until program short-term and long-term plan is defined along with key performance indicators, costs, success drivers, etc.
Because right now, they're just running down the road, first person who applies, the first person who gets their trees yanked out, their sidewalk replaced. There's no EIR, they're talking about maybe one of these days soon come, there will be an EIR process. It's strictly random, there's no guarantee, I mean, okay, apparently they are preferential to sidewalks in old people's places, which makes a certain amount of sense. But it's willy-nilly, and it all boils down to like just about everything else in this city. The best informed people get the projects first, and everybody else goes, gee, I wish I'd known about that program.
Also, what's very important is the fact that the program allows for, the way it is now, trees be removed, but then the city comes in and says, we don't have the money to do the cutout for the new tree, or we don't have the money to actually put a new tree in, even if they get the tree for free. They've got to hire the city workers to put the trees in. And so that's the problem we're finding, all over the city, not just here. So it's great, they come up with a plan, but then they can't financially follow through.
Right.
And so we're losing more canopy that way. We think we're getting, there's this, you remove one, you have to replace it by 2 or 4. One mature tree, 2, now it's 4 saplings or small, immature trees. Well, 4 trees now, think about the infrastructure that has to go on to cut a sidewalk or the right of way to plant 4 trees. So the city goes, we don't have the finances to do that. So the EIR will say, here's the problem, we're gonna remove one tree, and here's the solution, we're gonna have the money. The obligation is from cradle to grave, basically. So that's what we want to do. That's motion B.
And I'm always amused by the idea that the city doesn't have money to pay its city employees who get paid every payday, whether or not they've done anything at all. So this idea that, well, there's no money, or they get a paycheck, what the hell are they doing? Oh, and somebody pulled the street tree out from the sidewalk down around the corner from our house and filled it in with concrete. So.
Yeah. They did that on their own. Okay, any questions? Yes.
I have a problem with seeking to halt the rebate program that's well and underway. It's just something that's not realistic and not gonna happen. I think if we, to seek to halt something doesn't make sense. To ask them to, you know, to do the first part of it, to establish a process, right? That's different, to do a due process. But to ask them to halt an existing program that's well underway just doesn't make sense. And I couldn't support the motion as it's written.
Can we review the process?
Well, here's the thing, you're right to a certain extent. What's missing here is the fact that they don't follow through with the final part of the process, which is the replacement of the trees. So if you threaten, and this is a political statement as much as a practical statement, if you say, we're gonna halt the program, and they're gonna say, well, why would you vote on that? And you say, because you say you remove the tree, but you don't replace it with the trees that are supposed to replace them. That's the problem. So in practical terms, they're not following through with their obligation, and they say, well, we don't have the money. So what is a rebate program serving? Who's getting the money anyway? If the tree never gets planted, who's getting reimbursed?
Rita, your point is well taken,
Yeah,
and I agree with you to a certain level and on certain grounds, but from two different points of view, the rebate program sidewalk thing is a result of all the lawsuits that the city justifiably lost because the city didn't do its job all these decades of maintaining sidewalks, and they planted stupid trees, took care of them poorly, and we get to pay for that now. So not only do we get to pay for the sidewalks and putting them in, we're losing all the trees, good, bad, or otherwise, and now they're not even putting the trees back in. So and they're gonna, we can ask them to halt, they're probably gonna go, keep going. But if you don't ask for it, you're never gonna get it, and just tell them, hey, all you have to do is halt. You don't have to halt it forever. Halt until you start doing the entire process and the entire project instead of bait and switch, new sidewalks but no trees.
What about postpone? Would that be better? I mean, halt does sound very, maybe
Or temporarily
postpone.
halt.
Temporarily postpone rebate, didn't they just double the rebate also?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
I mean, the
All of
point
a
is
sudden-
they've incentivized
Yeah, they're making it like-
individuals to take these actions.
Right.
And they're just not gonna halt a program that is running and that people have already been signed up and gone for. And we really need to fix the sidewalks for ADA accessibility, et cetera. I mean, the city's been sued a lot for this. And I think to seek to halt a program that's ongoing doesn't make sense. I know that, we can say, we could say something else that says.
Temporary moratorium.
Or conform, it should conform.
Fine.
It
Additionally,
should
it
conform
seems
to the short-term, long-term plan defined with key
And
performance.
I'd be okay with that,
Okay.
conforming to the program, I'd be okay with it, it's just I don't wanna halt anything.
Yes.
Okay, yep, that works.
Well, right, that's what the requirements of the program are supposed to be.
Yeah,
We'll
they're
take
not-
that as a friendly amendment.
But I have another question, and maybe I missed this, I stepped out. This is addressed to Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Street Services, it's not, how do we, as we seek to express ourselves, we always have to tie these things
I think
to
this is isn't the sidewalk program through street services and the trees?
Bureau of Street Services, right? Bureau of Engineering, Street Services. So you're.
Urban forestry is under that.
Urban
forestry is under that auspices anyway, so.
I think it's
Yeah.
street services
So
and it's very different.
you basically hit two or three agencies with this as a point of view, and maybe at some point we have to come back with something that says, look, give us the replacement trees. Right?
Or ask for a report from their plan of eventually putting the replacement trees in.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that street trees are street services because I asked about the tree that disappeared and was replaced with concrete this week, and council office said no, street services.
Yeah, no, it all goes into a planning application that involves the requirement to put in new street trees. That comes from Bureau of Engineering Street Services.
Yeah.
Forestry Division.
Yeah,
so-
various sections
yeah.
of street services.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're changing to conform.
Yeah, Rita, it's,
I'm working on it, give me a second.
okay, I think I have an idea, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I kind of wiped what was there, but we can fix it if you don't like it. So let me just see if I made it make sense. So the Board of Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the establishment of due process and replacement process for tree removal under the new sidewalk repair program. See, they already have a process, so how would that be an establishment?
Yeah.
You know, the problem is this motion needs to go back to committee and get worked out so that we get something that makes sense. The suggestion originally was to table it, and I really suggest we send it back and get something we can support.
If the board wishes to send it back to committee, that's the board's prerogative and the board's duty.
Okay, well, my recommendation
As a committee
is-
member, I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm either chair or vice chair, and I don't, it
Well,
doesn't matter. if chair or
I
vice chair,
suggest we
can't say
send this
anything.
back to
Let's hear what
committee.
Let me, yeah, so, Rita, like always, you say very logical things, so, how about the proper follow-through with the established due process, or with the established process for the replacement of, I mean, we have to reword it, it's semantics more than anything.
How about due process in the replacement process? Because right now, I don't think there is really due process, they just randomly go.
I mean, they might be thinking, we're gonna spend all this money, a chunk of money on sidewalks first, and then we're gonna come in later and plant, they're not gonna do one right after the other. No, I understand, but I mean, they might be doing exactly what they intended to do by the process that they've got in there.
And if they do, we should all go out and buy a lottery ticket, because that'd be the first time in the history of this town that somebody's done what they said they were going to do.
All right, are we tabling this, or are we going to
it's not
send it back?
It's hard to get the wording.
I think
Yeah,
the
let's-
wording needs to come
Send it
from
back.
committee where it can
Yeah,
be.
okay.
We're fine.
Send it back. It's been a long meeting. Let's go.
We'll table it.
It's just not gonna be an appropriate, I think we're gonna get something better if it comes back.
Yeah, you're right, no, you're right, we totally agree.
I just want it to be the best it can be, and I don't think we're gonna get it.
This is not the army of the 80s.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to
Army
move
strong.
on to Mr. Keith. Number 11, outreach.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
So we had a outreach meeting, and we talked about what I thought was a really great idea, but then I kind of messed it up because I didn't go in front of the budget committee, which was, my idea was to ask for a sum of money to advertise all of our events over the next 3 months so that I could have more time to plan things and to do Facebook ads and but for that amount of money, it has to go through the budget committee. So my only concern, so that's gonna be up in the October meeting. I'm gonna propose that. My only concern is that we do have some cultural affairs, events, movies going on, and there's a few other things like this cleanup initiative and this East Valley Emergency Summit and the P22s thing, all things I'd like to help out and promote those events on Facebook. So I don't know if this is permitted or not, but can I add something for a smaller amount of money or just to cover October, just so I don't have the problem that we see Craig ran into? So this would be adding something, is that not possible, or?
Don't we have money in the budget for outreach?
Yeah.
For general advertising
General
outreach?
advertising is part of outreach.
Okay.
And it's part of the budget, so it.
It's already earmarked.
Okay,
So.
great.
just
I'm
just
new,
keep-
so,
Just keep your receipts.
okay,
And
great.
give them to me. or
Good,
send them to me.
then, if
No,
that,
send them directly to the city.
yeah. All right, so if that's good, the other thing I wanted to talk about was I went to the Neighborhood Council Congress 2 weeks ago, which was really great, and there was a lot of really interesting seminars there, but one of the things that I thought was something we could all help with was changing misperceptions about the homeless. That was a big thing that the city's trying to push, and it helps, I think, if we can do different types of outreach. And I sent you guys a link to the little podcast I did. And I just want to put the word out that if you have stakeholders reach out to you and they're interested in doing any sort of volunteering on the issue of homelessness, send them my way, because I'm trying to organize. There are some people who do want to do some things, and I'm trying to figure out ways to mostly educate our stakeholders about what the real numbers are. I see a lot of things on Nextdoor about, you know, people's perception of what they think homeless people are dealing with, and the data doesn't always reflect that. So I think it's our duty to, you know, help educate. And then lastly, there's this motion, and if, I don't want to butcher your name, but, okay. Yeah, if you want to come and just tell us about the events.
I think Jess did a great job, but I can just say a little bit. Thank you for having me today, I appreciate it. Thank you for emailing me.
She's gonna turn into a pumpkin.
It's been wonderful. We've been doing this for 34 years with the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber, and each year we try to pick a project that serves the Valley community in a little bit of a larger way. So we've done the Orange Line, we've done hiking trails, different things like that. We asked the council districts, each office to give us proposed different projects, and this year we love the idea of doing the LA River. And from what I understand, there's been a lot of complaints about that stretch, specifically from Laurel to Whitsett. You clearly are nodding your head, so you know exactly all these issues. And we definitely want to help address those issues. So we're very, very excited. We've never done the LA River. It's never been proposed. Surprisingly, you'd think it would have been, but it hasn't. So we're very excited about that. So basically, I asked with the neighborhood council for your support. It would be great to have some volunteers out there. It would be great if you had a table so you can greet your neighbors if you'd like.
What's the date?
November 4th. Saturday, November 4th from 8 to 12. And yeah, if you could help us with a little bit of just helping get the word out, like you were saying, Facebook would be really wonderful. And also just some monetary support to help us offset funds. So that's pretty much it, and it would be really wonderful to be able to have your support.
Could you email us, is there a document, is there a flyer?
We don't have a flyer, but we're working on that. We're trying to finalize our parking, where everyone's gonna park. Jess has been working really hard. She's been working really hard a lot, so you guys are very lucky to have her. She's really fantastic.
It seems that way.
So, she's been working hard. Yeah, and we are also trying to get the county to commit to letting us clean the county side, which is the north side, which is against the residential portion of that. We are trying to get them to also help let us clean that, because there's especially a lot of fire abatement that can probably be done on that side, so we want to work on that as well. So, yeah, once we have the flyer and everything, if I could get a logo from you, it would be really wonderful.
Yep.
And put that on the flyer and get the word out, get going, we'd love that.
Great.
Thank you.
You want me to read it, or you want to read it?
No, because I want to make an amendment.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of what is existing, Keith, I thought maybe we could add additionally, we approve the expenditure of, give me a dollar amount, please, blank, advertising funds from the outreach budget for the SCNC sponsored or co-sponsored events through December of 17. So just that, what dollar would you need me to put in there?
For this.
Just for events from now through December, so it would include Luminaria, and it would include the P whatever, and the P22 and the other events, like whatever else we have on. If we have, obviously we still have the movies at the library, the horror movies at the library.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of
I
what
can
else
pull up
is out
the
there.
proposal I sent in.
This is a very busy council district.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on.
So I just wanted to get you some funds in here, and then it would be like pre-approved, and we're taking it from something that was already allocated to your budget, but now specifically saying, so we don't run into the problem again, we don't repeat the problem we just had.
Right.
And that's why Rita's secretary.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up,
That's
because I
okay.
wrote this all up,
I
and I
know.
don't want to say.
And you had said it would be a lesser amount than you previously had, but, you know, like, would specifically go to budget, but just whatever, like, thing we need for this.
Yes, so, let's see. So so if there's a general, because I wanted to start promoting just our board meetings in general on Facebook.
Okay.
And that was, do you just want me to tally this up real quick?
Yes.
You can give me an up to, you know,
Eyeball it.
$50 each time.
I've been out of control, Richard. We are not lemmings. Follow you.
Is that how you do your architectural calculations?
It's a
Special
balance
consulting
act.
fees, right?
Sorry, 1 second. So I'll bring up the t-shirts when I come back in
Yeah,
October.
yeah.
So with Luminaria, film series, board meetings. So I have 850.
Okay, so so it would say additionally, we approve the expenditure of up to $850 for, of advertising funds.
All of our events through December.
From the outreach budget for the SCNC sponsored or co-sponsored events through December 2017.
Correct.
Okay, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay, Keith. All right, so that's I'm sorry?
Please read it.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the motion reads, the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the San Fernando Chamber of Commerce cleanup project in Studio City, Saturday, November 12th, 2017. The project involves cleanup, beautification, weeding, planting, and et cetera of the Alley River portion from Laurel Canyon Boulevard to Whitsett. This is planned to be a broad-scale project with many partners. The SCNC authorized the expenditure of $300 towards the project and Facebook marketing. That should have a fee in it. that
Sorry,
Facebook.
just a couple real quick. Is it matter that, our chamber name is incorrect on there? Because there is a different.
Yes.
Okay, so we're the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber.
Great.
And I think November 4th? And just to make sure it's on November 4th is that event.
Okay, well, I put it on the 12th, so I'm glad you fixed it. Thanks.
Sorry, thank you.
I misheard.
Or 12.
Okay, so the Greater San Fernando Valley, so we're missing the word valley too. Okay, hold on. Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna read it again from the beginning because I had messed that up. So the Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce cleanup project in Studio City, Saturday, November 4th, 2017. The project involves cleanup, beautification, weeding, painting, and et cetera of the Alley River portion from Laurel Canyon Boulevard to Whitsett. This is planned to be a broad-scale project with many partners. The SCNC authorizes the expenditure of $300 towards the project and Facebook marketing. Additionally, we approve the expenditure of up to $850 of advertising funds from the outreach budget for the SCNC sponsored or co-sponsored events through December 2017. Okay? All right, so that's brought by Keith, requires a second. I'll give it a second. You wanted to second it, Denise?
That's fine.
Okay, got it. So second by Denise Wellbang, and then, go forward. We have Richard Adams is my.
By all means, spend the money, something useful, both $300 and the $850. He's doing more of his outreach chair in the last couple of months than I've seen almost anybody in outreach do in the last few years.
Perfect. We need a roll call vote on this, Denise, because it's money.
Yes, I have my.
Got it.
Richard Welsh.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Eric, and Keith.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg.
Yeah.
John Couteau.
Yes.
Patrice Berlin.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes.
And, okay.
It's unanimous and passes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for picking our area.
We're happy to. Thank you so much.
Write your additions. Do
what?
Write your additions.
Yeah,
That's all there.
I'm just gonna put it in pencil. Hold on.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Thank you on that. Richard, do you have anything to say about bylaws?
Oh, yeah. If I did, that kind of
Make it short.
Alrighty, well, a rather large birdie just informed me that the city council is voting on delaying the 2018 neighborhood council elections to 2019. This, of course, is my surprise phase. When that happens, then the bylaws will open up and the changes that got approved earlier this year can be submitted appropriately. And we can look at doing some other things. Currently, we have 3 members, one of whom is a retired parliamentarian. We had a very interesting meeting earlier this month spent almost 2 hours, but it was a productive 2 hours, pretty much going over every single line of the bylaws and going over the operating procedures, discussing things in bylaws that maybe ought to be in operating procedures. And this is important to y'all, because if it's a bylaw we need it changed, it's got to take 2/3 vote, back and forth on the language in downtown, and they don't like it. And bylaws can be changed by majority vote here, and we're on like Tom. So we're going to look.
Operating procedures.
Operating procedures. What did I say?
Bylaws.
Yeah,
You did
okay,
it
but
backwards.
if it's in bylaws, it takes God and everybody to get it changed and a cast of thousands. If it's in operating procedures, simple majority vote and we're on. So we're going to look to see what can legitimately and reasonably taken out of bylaws that's there now. It is more appropriate to be in operating procedures, thereby making our bylaws simpler and easier to understand and allowing this organization to be that much more reactive to changes in reality. We also only have 3 bodies, which makes it really easy to get a quorum. But at the same time, we're going to be doing some outreach, looking for a few interested individuals. We want people who really love the English language, but really aren't necessarily in love with the sound of their own voice. They need to like clear, concise language. It helps you have an understanding of what we do, but it's not absolutely germane. And I may ask for some advice on how to go about doing that. But if you know anybody who is, we have one lawyer that's already more than enough, even though they're retired. That's one of the problems with our bylaws is previously there were an awful lot of lawyers who were involved, and they never used one sentence when 5 or 6 would work. We're trying to get away from that. So whatever we bring you will be streamed down, hopefully as streamlined as we can get it, clear, concise. We'll probably not go anywhere near the definitions of the seats because those were hashed out over a long period of time, and the city attorney in Dunn could never stop changing it. And as we've seen in the last couple elections, even when they're frozen in stone, they rewrite them for the election anyway. So unless I can talk everybody into going to just 15 at-large seats and everybody everywhere qualifies for them, we probably won't go there. But there's a lot of other things that can be made clearer. There's a lot of contradictions that more than one active stakeholder has mentioned over the last few years, and we'd like to clear that up, which will just make everything run that much better. And if any of you who spend time looking at them or run into problems, have suggestions, we don't need to invent everything, please tell us.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Did you get the stipulation sheet that was just sent out?
I just printed it today.
Okay.
I was going to say, what stipulation sheet?
Okay, so it was sent to the whole board, and you as chair of bylaws, not being a board member, I need to be sure that you get that so you know what's being talked about as another process that can affect the election.
Selection.
Oh, this would be a stipulation like the last time around, what we...
No, this is different. Let Denise, I just want to be sure you're aware and that you get it.
Okay,
I
good.
printed it today.
Okay.
In that case, I don't want to even see it till tomorrow before Beer Ferry because...
Email
I'm
the
gonna
all received.
email it to you.
Please do. I don't expect you to put your answer to me until sometime
It
tomorrow.
came from what's her name? From Duckworth, Jasmine Duckworth? I think that was her name, Jasmine.
I don't know.
Is
Did you
this,
share it?
is this a done thing?
It went to the entire board.
I got it.
Is this a done thing, a city clerk thing, or a city attorney's thing?
Do you want to go to select 5 years?
It's another option of what you can do with respect. Craig, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but I said, who generated this is my question.
I think Duckworth is
Done.
Done. The Department of Never Any Embarrassment.
Okay, well, at any rate, I don't want to belate it. I just want you to be aware, if you're going to take it up, that you have all information.
Thank you for another reason to drink when I get home.
Cultural affairs.
How many does that make now, Richard?
What was that? Yes, I already have it.
Mr. Niederberg.
Okay. And the Cultural Affairs Committee is working very nicely. The next event is in 2 days. That is September 23rd at the library, 3 p.m. For the entertainment district, we're going to set up a Studio City, where they tried to, 1922, 23, right there. What you ended up with is what you saw right here, because we were named Studio City by the post office, not by the people that came up with the idea of doing it. But anyway, they wanted to make an entertainment district here, and we're having a full seminar with pictures and PowerPoint, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Again, at the library, 2 days from today, 3 o'clock, And, you know, it'll really be good, presented by Mary Mallory, who's on the committee. She's also the former archivist for the Academy, so she has some idea what's going on here and went down here in 22, 23. Next item is the Luminaria, set for December 4th. And I do trust that Jessica, after bothering her every day for the last month or more, will come up with a fee waiver, all in part for the Luminaria. Not much more to say about that. The programming is being taken care of by Joanne Deutsch, who's doing the contract as an attorney with all the different performers. Make sure the city's happy and they're reasonably happy. In October, we have movies at the library, and I'm going to pass the thing over here. You know, you can see the rates of movies, yay!
So I'm going to just quickly go over the roster. These are featuring all movies that were easily accessible streaming through the Canopy streaming system, which has the entire collection, the Criterion collection, which is a pretty interesting collection, and something that with a library card you can have access to this Canopy streaming system and those movies. Anyway, we didn't have to get clearances. We're showing them in the library, so it simplified things. So on October 3rd, we're going to have Atomic Submarine. October 6th, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like the one from the 20s. October 10th, Carnival of Souls. October 13th, The Haunted Strangler. October 20th, Black Sun. And October 31st, The Blob.
It's Halloween.
Yeah, so it's an interesting assortment of movies that are in the Criterion collection, and it should be interesting, I think. Right? We've got to wring that out of the streaming system. We've got to go make sure that somebody knows how to do that beforehand.
Yeah, in the library using their overhead projector and their screen, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get footage or not from the Friends of the Library. Hope I can. If I can't, well, we'll still work something out, basically, because they're there for the movies, not to eat chocolate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, get ready for work. Obviously,
Popcorn, so we have a popcorn show, we do popcorn, we
Why
do
can't we do
popcorn, we have a
popcorn?
popcorn machine.
You know,
okay, but somebody has to actually make it work. That gets over here.
we get butter on
He doesn't
And,
have candy.
and keep the library happy. I
We
don't
feed
want
the
to mess.
librarian.
I don't want to mess up the library.
The popcorn machine has popcorn with it, the popcorn has butter in the package,
Yeah.
or oil in
It's
the
all- it's
package.
all-
I just want to make sure that we don't.
Yeah.
But
Make sure the librarian is good with that before you get carried away.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, because you fire up the machine, the whole library is gonna smell like popcorn, and I guarantee you, somebody go, oh, I'm a Richie.
Not good.
Maybe have the sheet outside in the patio.
There you
I'm
go.
just saying is, it's important to me to keep the library happy, so we do
Yes,
those events.
there you go.
Not just
Yeah, little
our
kernels of
events, but
popcorn
the
everywhere.
events on sustainability, a couple of year all, you know, so let's keep them happy.
They're a trusted partner.
They're an
And by the way, once again, they've committed to have people reading appropriate stories at Luminaria, and another reason why I keep them happy.
Very good. All right, not bad. I was told that Glenn Bailey is going to be giving our bank report.
Yes.
He has his comment card in.
He
Yes.
has his comment.
After Richard, after.
No.
Richard wasn't there.
I'm yielding my time to you.
Richard has something better to do, I think he stayed home and took a nap.
No.
Glenn Bailey. So my first statement was to acknowledge and thank Richard for always being at bank and representing Studio City. So, but he does. We have about 25 or so neighborhood councils out of the 34 in the valley that are typically at the meeting. So we're still working on those other 8 or so. But so thanks, Richard, for generally always being at the bank meeting. I actually wasn't going to speak about the last meeting. It was kind of just a whole variety of issues that neighborhood councils deal with, that some of which you dealt with and others. But we did have Scott Schmerlson, the school board member there, and that was our main speaker. And so we focused in on, education issues, but part of the discussion was neighborhood purposes grants and schools, and the other issue for those neighborhood councils that meet at schools and the problems that they have. So I won't take your time since you don't meet at schools, but just know that there are issues dealing with, imagine that, a big institution such as LAUSD that neighborhood councils are having. So he's trying to make that better. And they actually are having a meeting with the person who's in charge of the school permit. So I don't know if you ever use the schools for any of your things? Elections, okay. They're having a meeting next week with the head of all that to try to iron out some of these problems that, try to make it better for neighborhood councils. What I really wanted to comment on was the fact that, every 2 years we have a planning forum, and we did that last year here on site at Carlos Cafe. And then we have, every March we have our anniversary mixer. And so you're the host neighborhood council. Thank you for allowing us all to come here. For this year, since it's an off year in November, we actually are going to do something, and that's not our traditional planning forum where we break out into topic, subject area groups, breakout groups. We're doing a planning and transportation forum because of the Measure M, number of Measure M funded projects in the valley, and also some of the initiatives that are going with transit-oriented development, density bonuses related, but also the impact of those projects, some of which are on fast track. So we're melding the two together, and so this will be our first time doing that. So I wanted to let you know about that. Obviously, you're the proximity of ground zero for both of those things. I do know Vince Bertoni, the director of city planning, is one of the speakers that will be coming. I don't know all of them yet. And what I wanted to, besides inviting you all to attend, I'm sure many of you will be there. It's November 9th. Yeah. It's the second Thursday of the month. They usually open the door, I think at 5:30, and the program begins at 6, so it'll probably be similar to that this time. And watch your emails because they're looking for a pretty well-known person, pretty famous person to be moderating, so watch for the announcement on that. What I did want to ask is if, you know that we don't pay rent for the facility, but in lieu of that, we do pay for the food, the refreshments that are offered. And we can do a better job at that if we have more neighborhood councils that help sponsor the event.
We already do that. Quite a while we paid for both.
No, I know you have.
Okay.
I know you have in the past, but I just saw the list for the one coming up and I didn't see your name, and I thought, well, since I'm here, I'll go ahead and chime in about that. If you have money in your budget, we're asking each neighborhood council, it's up to you, but we're asking each neighborhood council $250 for each of the, $250 for each of the events, or you can do one or the other. And that gets your name on the invitation and on the program, and get you credited. And at the anniversary, make sure you are able to display your banner amongst the folks there. So I just want to put that out there. If you, unless it's already in the works, if you want to put that, consider that for possibly an October action. Our deadline, I think, is November 1st. So if you're able to pull that together by the end of October, we can get you on the invitation on the program.
We can put it through budget in our goal.
Okay. And otherwise, or in addition to that, hopefully all of you will be able to make it on November 9th to that event.
And you'll have really good parking.
Where is this November 9th being held?
Carlos.
That wasn't clear.
Just
I was going to say, they're going to get all those people into the hospital.
I have one comment since you're here. Given that you bring all the Valley neighborhood councils together, I think I ask that you focus more on gaining some traction, on getting more police for the Valley. I think that's the main issue you guys should be focused on as Krikorian starts building his budget for the next year. I think that's where you could really be an asset to the community. That's the worry right now. That's where your focus my opinion, should be.
Okay, and your point is well taken, because we actually, thinking back on our VANC meetings for the past couple years, I don't think we've had one of the top high-ranking folks from LAPD that I can recall. So your point's well taken, I'll pass that suggestion along. Just so you know, our October meeting, we have the new chair of the committee that oversees neighborhood councils, the Health Education Neighborhood Councils Committee. Councilmember David Rue will be the guest speaker at VANC, because everything that now affects neighborhood councils goes through that committee, and he's now chairing it. And we're also having the new president of the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, another entity which affects us with their policies and rules and what have you. She will be there. She's from South LA area. So we've got the two people. So the October meeting, you're all invited. Even though Richard's there, you're all invited to attend. So we have the two people at those two different levels that oversee everything that affects us with neighborhood councils at our October meeting. But I'll pass your, and we have November, we have the forum. I'll pass your suggestion on for a December or future dialogue with.
I mean, this is the most important issue for the valley. I mean, people are being robbed and it's disgusting.
Right, and I hear that from individual work that each neighborhood councils are doing with their senior lead officers. With, we actually had the captain of our police division at our board meeting, our most recent board meeting, so.
You have a real opportunity, that's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you could visit the LAPD to start issuing concealed weapons permits to pick that crime.
To wrap things up,
I'm not so sure.
last Saturday, we had a very successful fireman outreach day. We had bagels and donuts. We gave away fire hats for the kids, stickers, toy badges. I would say with John, at least 50 kids attended with their parents. I put some pictures up on our Facebook page to check it out. It really was a great event. I hope we could do more of those type of events.
We had 48 people sign up. And
48 stakeholders.
Yeah, actually sign up, and most of them were there in groups of both parents and kids, so you can multiply that number by 3 or 4.
Right, so it was a good turnout. And the captain, you know, he at first he was a little wary of everyone, but by the end he was smiling and he had a great time seeing everyone climb on the fire truck. So really happy how that turned out. Not to beat a dead horse, but I don't know what else I could have done in the situation of the receipts. I mentioned it at our last meeting that this is something we were considering. On August 20th, I sent an email to the budget committee and the president that requesting $300. So I know there wasn't a meeting in between, but that was the time period from getting the confirmation to making it happen. And that's what I have to say on that.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anything that the board wants to bring out onto comments for members?
I have one comment. I just wanted to update the board on the fact that with respect to the Harvard West Lake project, you know, there's been a delay in the hearing date, and therefore, although we had been expecting that report from planning, I've been advised that it won't come out until 2 or 3 weeks before whatever the hearing date is reset at. And so I just wanted you to know that I have been trying to get that report out of them and to us, and it's not going to happen soon, so we're waiting. But I'm looking for it.
Okay, good enough. On that note, thank you everyone for coming. And for people who stayed throughout this. It's like 9:30, we did good.
Not bad.
We did good. Thank you everyone for being,